Good evening, Professor Helena. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm fine.
Great.
You just tell me when to start.
Supratim will be telling you, not an issue.
Okay.
Just waiting upon Ravi sir. Ravi sir should be joining any minute.
Supratim, have you pinged him?
Yes, I just called Brahma. She confirmed that he will be joining any minute now.
Okay.
So, ma'am, I think we should start. Ravi sir can join in any moment, so we could transfer over to him then. For the timing, I think we should start with the event then. Okay, Momita ma'am, over to you.
Okay. So, a very, very good evening to all colleagues, all scholars, all students who have joined in today. I wish you all a very, very good evening. This is Dr. Momita Sengupta, and I have been provided with the honor of introducing this session. And I think that, as is the tradition of the Institution's Innovation Council of Techno India University, this session on problem solving and ideation is going to be a very, very interesting one. And according to the ethos of the Institution's Innovation Council of the Techno India University, it is going to be a precursor to the development of the entrepreneur, to the development of the creator, to the development of the Indian who will take the country forward with great innovations in technology, in humanities, in management, and in the area of social development. So with these words, I begin the session, and first of all, I invite Professor Jayanta Chaudhary, who is the Assistant Professor of the Department of CSE. He has had 30 years in the IT industry and has a wide exposure on various aspects of IT that includes turnkey and application software management, account building, and delivery of projects. He has worked in different domains in the transformation projects in government and non-government sectors, such as project delivery, stakeholder, client, and general management. He has successfully implemented projects, formed teams, and led them. Apart from his professional work, he's involved in mentoring and motivating interested high school students in mathematics and physics. He's an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and Rutgers University, USA, and he has worked in major organizations like the TCS and PricewaterhouseCoopers. Professor Chaudhary, over to you.
Yeah, I was on mute. So thank you so much, Professor Momita ma'am, for that kind words. And I think Ravi sir has joined. Would he like to initiate anything, or should I start? I think I can see Ravi sir has just joined. So
yeah, he has joined. Ravi sir, would you like to give a small introduction?
Yes. Apologies, I am traveling due to low network. I was not able to join earlier. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone on behalf of Techno India University, IIC. I see I see that a lot of participants are here, and it's a very interesting opportunity to once again welcome all the students and learner for this very interesting problem solving and ideation workshop. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Professor Dr. Helena Sengupta, Professor Supratim Ghosh, and all the other faculty members who have conceptualized and now doing this event. Now, as the title suggests itself, the objective of both IIC and Technology University has always been to encourage and inspire students to think about innovative opportunities, and that's why you see that entrepreneurship skill development is part of the curriculum, and now a lot of programs are being organized so that you can you can not only think about ideas but also find a very well guided path so that you can take your idea from just an ideation phase to the next level. Consider this event as a stepping stone, where you can learn about new opportunities, and then throughout the rest of the year, especially for first and second year, throughout the rest of the year you have so many events planned that you can actually use these events as like a virtual incubation program to build solutions. Right after this, we have some very interesting events. On the 2nd of December, we have a very interesting event happening on the World Pollution Day. As you all understand, uh, pollution, especially air pollution, in this time has become a very big challenge in North India. And how young people can solve these problems, I think these are going to be very interesting, discussions. So I encourage all the participants to take advantage of all these opportunities. And once again, congratulations to all the faculty members who have organized this event on behalf of Technology University IIC. I hope that you guys have a really interesting session today. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Professor Mamita.
Thank you so much, Ravi. Indeed, I'm very sure it's going to be a very inspiring session and a very interesting one. So over to you, Professor Jayanta Chaudhary.
Thank you so much, Ravi sir. Thank you so much once again, Professor Sengupta. I'll just share a document, and then that will help us to go forward. Just a minute. Let me just share this. I hope this is visible.
Yes, sir, absolutely visible.
Thank you so much. So good evening, everyone. Welcome everyone to this session. So the idea is problem solving and ideation. So that's the idea. So what do we do first? Let's start. So as the beginning, let's see a problem for a ninth standard student. Solve for p where p is a positive integer, and you're given an equation. I'm sure most of you would relate to this kind of equation. You have done in high school, even maybe you have used this kind of concept in your day-to-day engineering work, in your computer science work, your other fields. And given this equation, the first thing you would do is either you use that age-old Sridharacharya's quadratic equation formula to find the roots, or you factorize and then equate it to 0 and then find the roots. So these are the ways that any 9th standard or maybe a 10th standard, or even students who are done some advanced study on this roots quadratic equation at the 8th standard level can work it out. So this is a problem, and you have a solution to this. The solution has been made by people before us, and we are just using them, implementing the same. So the idea of the solution, which was conceptualized by Sridharacharya, or the factorization method, has been in vogue for years and years. Now, let me go to the next slide. Here is the beginner. So I give the same problem to a 6th standard student. The same problem. Just note that find the larger of two consecutive positive numbers whose product is 12. Now, the problem is represented in a different way. But if you really look at the previous equation and this problem which I'm giving now to a 6th standard student, see, by the way, the 6th standard student doesn't have any idea or any inkling about this Sridharacharya's or quadratic equation, for that matter, any equation of that sort. But I'm just giving him a puzzle kind of problem, asking him to find out two consecutive positive integers whose product is 12. And he immediately is able to understand the concept, and he says 3 into 4 is 12. So the bigger number is 4. So there you have it. The answer is 4. And you, with all those tools and processes and theory and the concepts from the first slide, you also got a 4 as the answer to this. So basically, the same problem is getting represented in two different dimensions for different sets of people with different skill sets and different mindsets. That's the point. So here the problem may be the same. The objective is to achieve the goal. But the way you go about it, the path you tread, that's different for different people. And that's absolutely all right. It's not necessary that I achieve the goal in some way and you achieve the goal in some other way. Your idea may be vastly different from mine. That can be as different as North and South poles. But our ideas would converge because our goal is the common element here. So therefore, these are the few things I think. See, whatever I'm saying is from my experience. I will discuss some very interesting stories from my experience from the corporate world where I've been part of. Observation. See, the observation is very important. Representation. See, the once I represent the same question a different way, it becomes a primary level problem, down from a senior level, right? Interpretation, how you interpret. So the same problem where I'm trying to find the root, the maximum root, the highest positive value is interpreted in a different way when we are coming to the second slide, where the beginner is trying to solve this same problem in a different way. So the idea, the problem and the idea are getting married together. You have a problem, the problem has to be visualized. You need to visualize. Imagine what the problem is. See, someone who has that kind of adaptability to figure out or visualize a problem, to picture that in his mind, in his or her mind, has an advantage. But it can be practiced. You can practice doing it and develop this skill over time, right? So interpretation, the structure of the problem. So all these basically point out to your visualization effect. So the way you visualize a problem is the first step in going about having or nurturing some ideas. And I think this simple example, which I have actually demonstrated to many students and many research, research students, young students, I think you get the point from this, right? So coming to the next part of the story, here we have a diagram. We have a diagram. And I think you are able to understand what this diagram is all about. So there is an entwined string at one end to the left and then to the right. People are there who are trying to, make it streamlined, make it in a common, thread, right, in a circular fashion. So this is a very symbolic aspect of this entire chaos around us. So problem is a chaos around us. We need to streamline that problem into the solution. So basically what I'm trying to say here is this diagram depicts that the solution to any problem you have is actually within the problem itself. You need to have that eye to look at it, to interpret it, to represent it in the way you want to picturize it, and then go about solving it step by step. So in this case, if I just draw an analogy with this, this diagram out here on your screen, on my screen rather, you have this entwined chaos or in this entwined string, and there is a team which is trying to make it streamlined with teamwork. So these are important aspects of problem solving and ideation. It's not that only you solve technical problems, you solve mathematical problems. It's not that. You have problem in everyday life. We'll see some examples. We'll see some practical examples. Possibly in the next 1 or 2 slides. So this depicts that the problem's solution is embedded there. We just need to have the correct identifier to take that out and streamline it into a particular structure. There's no problem which doesn't have a solution inside it. Once you have the solution, you look back and you see that, okay, this was part of the problem itself. So the solution is the part of the problem itself, as far as I consider that. So the challenge. So what are the challenges that you have in front of you? Of course, you have a problem and you have to have a solution to it. So ultimately, it will lead to innovation. We're not talking about innovation at the current time. It will gradually come. So when you implement that solution for either with some product-based device, or maybe a program, or maybe a concept, it leads to innovation. Solution seed is embedded within the problem. I think that we already discussed. Any problem you take, the solution is within. Whether is the simple problem that I gave at the outset, or they are vast, complex, complicated problems, the same thing applies everywhere. Of course, the next 3 points, I do not really need to elaborate much. Unless you have a real necessity, you really don't think of an invention. So unless you really have a problem or a challenge in front of you, you really don't think of something to be done. You don't think, that creative mind is not triggered. See, everybody of us has a creative mind. It's only something triggers that you begin to work around it. For example, let's talk about this pandemic. When 2019, this time of the year, 2019, we had no idea that such a thing would be coming to our life. Come 2020, January, February, March, and things changed. It was something new that no one had seen before in 100 years. Correct? So that means it's a problem, but the solution was there. And you saw how dedicatedly, furiously, if I may use this word, furiously, the medical fraternity, the scientists, everyone worked on it and produced a vaccine, which is possibly effective in a short period of time. So that was actually the solution from the problem itself. Why? Again, they analyzed the virus, where it is hitting, the spike protein and all those sort of terminology, which I am not very much knowledgeable about. And they ultimately found that this is the problem. So if I can stop the virus replicating at that level, I can surely stop the virus spreading. So therefore, the problem was inherently managed. And that led to innovation. You could see a lot of devices being manufactured. I think IIT Kharagpur also devised some unit with the help of which you can do those RT-PCR tests very quickly and get the reports immediately. Earlier, the RT-PCR reports were taking maybe 7 days to come. Now, if you give it today morning, you get it maybe in 4 or 5 hours. So that's improvement. So unless we had that necessity, until we had the necessity, we wouldn't have invented and gone for that. Change is the only constant. I mean, this is an oft quoted cliche, so I don't want to delve into that too much. Budget. That's a very important sentence. See, you might think of many algorithms. When I talk of the word algorithm, I really don't mean the algorithm that you all have studied in your design and algorithm class or in the data structure class. No, algorithm is everywhere. When I'm going from my house to Techno India University to give a class, I am following some algorithm. If the traffic is at a standstill, I follow a different algorithm. If there is a transport strike, I use a different algorithm. So algorithms are part of our life. Whatever we are doing is a part of our algorithm process. So any algorithm we do may not be feasible or viable commercially. So whenever we are solving a problem, we should also think of the viability. But of course, that comes much later. First, we need to solve the problem. We need to have 5 or 6 ways of solving the problem. Then we can choose. Unless we have options, we can't choose. So therefore, we need to choose well, we need to choose judiciously. Of course, there will be implementation issues. Anything you do, you will have implementation issues. There are lots of problems. Even if you have developed a software and implemented it, there will be lots of bugs. There are lots of teething issues, right? So combining all these are the major challenges that we have when we are trying to focus on a problem and solving. Technology is just a tool, I've said. Main thing is your creativity. Let it run free. Ideas germinate from the problem itself, and our imagination is limitless. And go on repeating. This is the same strain that I would possibly use during the course of my session today. Our imagination is limitless. Go on. Do not stop thinking. Nothing is silly. Don't fear. Be fearless. Unless you are fearless, you can't be creative. Take risks. Gradually, as you mature, you will be taking better decisions. Let's talk about some stories. Y2K problem. I am not sure. Possibly Dr. Helena ma'am, Professor Moumita would possibly know. I do not know whether the young generation of today, whoever is listening, would possibly have heard of the Y2K. Y2K is short for year 2000. So when this millennium came in, 2000, there was a huge hue and cry everywhere. Why? Because the programs, I mean, please do not equate today's technology, today's programming paradigm with what we had in the 1980s, 1990s, or even, I mean, beyond that, 1970s. That time, there was no software engineering like that. So there, the programs were written in a much different way, which I don't want to discuss out here, definitely. But the problem was no one or most of the programmers during those 70s and 80s who had written big programs for, let's say, airline or banks or whatever, they did not imagine, or they were not, didn't have that foresight, most of them I'm talking about, that the year 2000 would bring in a lot of chaos. And what was that? They used a 2-digit field for the year field. So when they were in the 1982s, 83s, 84s, 85s, 91, 92s, there was no problem. You would say today's date is 30/11/21. But what would happen after 31st December 1999? The last 2 years would create a lot of problem. And you imagine what problem it would create for airline travel especially, and banking transactions and other very critical applications. So that kind of situation actually came in the understanding of the people only in the 1997-98 kind of region. I'm talking about the majority. Some may have taken preventive action much before. So what happened? There was a huge problem, but you need to solve it. People are going to book their tickets 60 days in advance in a train. People are going to book their tickets in a plane much before the 31st December for the next year. So what would happen to them? What would be 00? Year 00 would not have any meaning, and there would be total chaos in the computing machinery. That entire ecosystem will go for a toss. So what happens? Problem needs to be solved. How you solve the problem? Different ways. People think of different ways. Either by brute force method, going into each program, changing the field from 2 digits to 4 digits, recompiling the program, and at that time you didn't have all these so much Oracle and all those kind of database in prevalent. They were there, but not in so much prevalent mode. So you had those old generation languages, C languages, Pascal, Fortran. So you have to go into each of those program files and change, and you can really understand what difficult it was. Nights after nights. But fortunately, unfortunately, I was also part of a small team at that time. But I was in a project of railway reservation, which TCS was doing at that time. And we had to do all these changes manually, going into the program, searching with Control F, imagine, and doing. That was a brute force. But nothing could be done because it wasn't parameterized as such. The program wasn't parameterized. Now today, you would take that idea and improve your program. So a lot of things have gone. And so the most important thing there is a lot of companies came up, a lot of startups. That startup word hadn't been so in vogue at that time, but startups came into being. What were they doing? Their job was just to help an IT company or any other company transform their problem, Y2K problem, so that 00 effect is not there. So a lot of companies came up. Correct? So that was the idea behind a lot of companies being founded. See, so the problem gave rise to opportunities as well. Just like you have opportunities nowadays in the pandemic ecosystem, in the climate, in the waste management, correct? There are several sectors, areas, pollution, where you can add value. We can see the problem and add value, add some ideas to solve it. Enterprise transformation project. Here also I had experience somewhat. This was a different type of challenge. So we had a project in Nepal actually. When I was in PwC, we had a project in Nepal. And they were trying to convert their entire government architecture into an enterprise mode. So everything would be computerized and all that. And like all government people, they were a bit slow in reacting. So that was another kind of problem. It was not a technical problem. It was more a problem to manage people. So as I said, the problem is not only limited to technical things. Those things are easily solved. The problem is to solve those areas where creativity is required. Creating a roster. Do you think creating a roster is very easy? You had online class, you had a roster. Immediately when you have a mix of the two, you have a different roster. I'm sure those who have been doing this really know what is the algorithm they would follow. That is a tremendous process of creating a roster, changing, having both the mixed modes, planning, organizing a multi-group activity. You all have done, maybe organizing a college fest and so on. Smart applications in your phones, so many of them, all are born out because there was a problem. Because you didn't want to go out and get your meal, you had these food app delivery apps coming to your doorstep, delivering the food item. Distributed office. This is another example. Nowadays, you can have a team working out of Bangalore, one team working out of New York, one team at Calcutta. No problem. You're all connected. So that technology has developed and has been implemented because of the need. Need for work-life balance, need for more productivity, more resource utilization, and so on and so forth. So these are some practical stories I just wanted to share from my own experience. Waste, I think I already spoke of some opportunities around us where you can actually leverage and introduce some solution to alleviate the problems therein. Healthcare is very important. Logistics, how you arrange the vehicles so that with the fixed number of vehicles, with the fixed number of cartons that it can carry, you can actually distribute those items in different godowns around the city or around the country. And it is a hell lot of difficulty in solving it using your algorithms. Methodologies. Let's come to the next part, methodologies. So what would be methodologies? Workarounds. Workarounds, you call that in very, if I am permitted to use that word, jugaad. Not a problem. That's a way of solving a problem. See, ultimately you have to solve the problem. What idea you have in your mind, that's the other issue. So you can solve a problem in different ways. Look around, observation. See, remember the first slide we saw, observation. Brute force, I gave an example of brute force. Divide and conquer. This phrase I have just borrowed from the design and algorithm course. You break up the problem into small parts, small modules. Conquer them. As you conquer them recursively, you go up and up and up and you solve the entire problem. Out of the box technique, lateral thinking. See, this is something which might not come to you directly. But over time, with observation, with experience, this can be developed. Past experience, definitely, no question about it. Lessons learned. Earlier, if you have done similar kind of stuff, think about those. What were the strengths, weaknesses? Analyze what went wrong, what went right. That might help you to solve the next problem. what if analysis. Throughout this methodologies, we have actually discussed the what if analysis. What if this happens? So if something happens, see what are the checkpoints that may happen. And then from there, you go to the other if. So if, nested if, nested if, nested if I'm talking in terms of computer jargon. So what if analysis, very important. Fishbone analysis, very important. In a fish, what happens? You have the bone, just scuttle the flesh. One by one, you're left with the skeleton. So that's the way to separate. Just the duck separates the water from the food, right? Documentation. Please don't forget to document everything. Because most of the time, I am telling you very frankly, from my experience, if I have thought of an idea and my boss, after a month, has asked me that idea, I forgot completely. I was so embarrassed. Then I thought, okay, let me just put it down, one word in my diary, or nowadays you can do it on the phone itself. So that helps you. Some pointer to what your idea is. Just note down. Suppose you're just watching a game of cricket or football. Suddenly something comes in your mind. Just note, keep that noted in your diary. Maybe someday it will help you to do something else. The ideas like that, out of the box ideas don't come every day. Document everything. Considerations. Of course, ask questions. That's number one. You have to ask questions. Questions cannot be silly or intelligent. You have to ask questions. Even if they are not answered, you should ask questions. Clarity of vision, very important. You should be absolutely clear what you want to achieve. That problem definition should be absolutely clear. Unless the problem is defined well, you cannot go about solving it. You cannot have a hazy problem. Identify the basic principles on the foundations on which the problem needs to be solved. You may need scientific, you may need Newton's law to solve a problem. Why not? Remember all those things that you have studied from junior level up to now. Anything and everything, your internal intellect, your logic, your reasoning, everything. Viability, I think we spoke about, the return on investment, societal issues, but these come later. I just covered the main points. Adaptability to change, feasibility, whether it's really feasible, what are the conditions under which this problem solution will not be applicable, the assumptions of your solution. Of course, ultimately we'll have the algorithm and the technology. If it's not technology, you may have to fabricate a manufacturing unit, because all problems are not solved by software or electronic device. It may be a mechanical unit. So you have to fabricate that. And of course, as I said at the beginning, you need the choice of the solution. There may be hundreds of solutions, but you have to come to one specific solution depending upon the situation and the context you're working in. So that's more or less covers the work in progress. So you need an idea to be implemented, and that you can do by constant research, collecting vast amount of data. And today, this is not a problem. Maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was really a problem. But now the data mining science, data science, these have grown to such a level that you can do this data collection and research very easily. Teamwork. Remember that diagram, the entwined chaos? You need that teamwork. You cannot do anything alone. Constant communication. See, you may have an idea. You need to bounce that idea from your colleague or senior or an expert. So you need a constant communication channel. Knowledge sharing. These two go hand in hand. It's not that, okay, I know this much, I'll not share my idea. No, you don't gain anything. Rather, by sharing ideas, by collaborating. You've seen hundreds of publications where authors collaborate from different regions of the world. Maybe a Japanese scientist collaborates with a French scientist to write a paper, publish a paper. Testing, absolutely important. This is one of the most important things. Unless you test out and then roll out, you're not going to be successful. And of course, you need to evolve constantly. Do not stop thinking. Just because I have found this approach doesn't mean it's the end of the road. There The road is endless. It's like your number line. The number line doesn't stop. Positive side or negative side. You can go on and on and on, right? So that's, in a nutshell, is what I want to say. And before I end, I just wanted to give 2 problems. But this is on the fun side. Many of you would know about these. Divide a circular cake into 8 equal pieces. How many possible cuts do we need? If this was a class, maybe I would have asked for the answer, or maybe I would have done a face-to-face, I would have got an answer through show of hands. But here I don't have that opportunity. Think about it. Of course, you can have how many? 1, 2, that's 4, and you can have. But are there any other ways to do it? Think about it. I leave it to you. Second one, second puzzle. I give you 40 weights. 1 kg weight, 2 kg weight, 3 kg weight, up to 40. Separate weights, right? But you have to choose only 4 weights out of these 40 weights. And you have to weigh any weight between 1 to 40 such that only 4 of those weights will be possible to use. So which 4 weights out of 1 to 40 will you use? Which 4 will you pick up so that you can weigh any item that weighs between 1 and 40? Of course, not considering the decimal, integer values only. So this is again a problem. So you can think of these problems. So this is not a technology problem, but this actually triggers your thinking. So the first step is triggering your thinking, your thought process. Look at the problem from the practical view. Visualize it, construct it, structure it in your mind. Go stepwise, either divide and conquer or break it into different parts. Go about solving the individual parts. Common goal. Find out 2 to 3 ways of doing it. Which is the best way? Take different situation, the context, the budget, the awareness of the people who are going to use that solution. So all of these things taken together will help you solve that problem. So I think I'm more or less done with it. If you have any questions or maybe question and answer, Professor Sengupta will be towards the end. I'm not sure. The journey has just begun. I mean, has begun. It has not just begun. It has begun already. For all of you, it has begun the moment we have been born. We had a problem. That's why the moment we are born, we start crying. We solved that problem ourselves. The first problem we solved was by crying. Right after we came on this earth. So if the journey has begun, then it won't end so soon. It will be an endless journey, limitless journey with limitless thinking. Thank you and all the best. If you have any questions, please do ask. Professor Moumita, I hand over to you if there's a question answer now or maybe at the end.
Sir, if you please come out of the screen share.
Oh, I'll do that. Definitely.
And moreover, I think we can take questions in the end so that they can collate their thoughts better, because the kind of whammy you have delivered, you have got us thinking as well. So, hello, I hope I'm audible.
Yeah.
So I think let us kind of take the questions in the end. And I would like to say that even I have taken copious notes because the processes that you have talked about, they are so central to the human thinking. You know, it's not just a question of science. In humanities, we experience these same issues. You know, presently researchers do this. They're not writing enough. They're not communicating enough. They're not recording enough, and they're not evolving enough.
True.
So it was a beautiful presentation. Thank you so much.
Amita, just to add on to what you said, we have actually become slave to technology. It should have been the other way around.
Absolutely. So correct. So very correct. So I now invite our next speaker.
I also thank Drs. Helena and Supratim for giving me the opportunity to speak to the audience. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Indeed, it was a very, very interesting and thought-provoking presentation, moreover, because you gave such real-life examples which we don't really think about, not in that sense. So thank you so much, sir. I now invite Professor Supratim Ghosh, Assistant Professor, Department of CSE. He is the Innovation Ambassador of the Innovation Vertical Lead at the IIC TIU. So Shupratim, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Momita. First of all, I'd like to welcome all the attendees here today. Good evening to all of you, and welcome to this event that we have organized on behalf of IICTIU. Okay, so today's topic that we have chosen for you is basically on problem solving and ideation workshop. Okay, so why is this important? Is because you have different types of subjects as well, not only in Techno India University, but globally as well. As we are seeing, there's a huge emphasis on startups, okay? On startup ideas, government funds are being provided for startup ideas and for startup ventures, not only at a corporate level, but also at an institutional level, right? So we do want all of our students as well and all of our attendees here right now to grab onto those opportunities. But the problem that you are facing, or most of you are facing, is you do not know how to approach the problem. Now, Professor Jayanta Chaudhary presented a beautiful presentation on how to exactly approach a problem, how to solve a problem, how do you prepare yourself mentally to attack a problem, to come up with some solution, right? The part which I'm going to focus on, that is actually on ideation, okay? Before I begin, let me just share a PPT with you. Just a minute. Yes. So I hope this is visible to all of you, right? So the part that I'm going to focus on, that is going to be on ideation, right? Now, when we are talking about ideation, one thing that has to come into our mind, that is called innovation, right? Now, this is a term that is very ambiguous. Okay, all of us, we tend to confuse ourselves on what exactly is an innovative idea. Okay, we always talk about this concept. We require an innovative idea. We'd like to come up with an innovative idea. But what exactly is an innovation, right? Uh, Let me give you an example. Okay, then it would be easier for you to understand. Let's think about 10 years back. Okay, 10 years back, we still had, let's say, restaurants. Okay, all across our cities, we used to have restaurants. Okay, we still had cabs. Okay, 10 years back as well, we still had cabs. But what was the protocol in that time? Protocol was, suppose if you wanted a restaurant food or you wanted to enjoy a meal outside, you had to physically go to the restaurant. Okay, you had to physically visit the restaurant, right? If you wanted to avail a cab, what did you have to do? You had to hail a cab. You had to go physically outside to your home and you had to avail a cab, right? Now, what happened is some of the, let's say, entrepreneurs, okay, some of the idealists, they observe this pattern that suppose if I want to enjoy a meal, but I do not have the option or I do not have the, let's say, luxury of going and visiting a restaurant physically, right? Or suppose if I'm on the road and I want to avail a cab, I do not know where exactly that cab would be available, right? I might be standing in front of our university and I might be waiting for a cab, but as it turns out, there is no cab available in that region, right? I might have to walk, let's say, 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer away to avail a cab. But until and unless I know where exactly is the cab, it is not possible for me to go up to that cab, right? So what happened was that some of the, let's say, entrepreneurs, they observed this gap. This is something that we call a gap. Okay? This is called an idea gap. That problems are not always, let's say, unique in their nature. Okay, problems don't always signify something that has no solution. Sometimes the solution that we have or solutions that are existing in our modern world may be insufficient to, let's say, our requirement, right? So identifying that gap, that is also a very important tactic that you should develop if you are focusing on developing innovative ideas, right? There are many of solutions. There are plenty of solutions out there. You want to have a restaurant meal. You want to enjoy a meal outside. The solution was, first solution that came up to our market was Zomato. What did Zomato do? Sometimes you're visiting a restaurant and you might not have a reservation, right? So you might have to wait for hours or let's say 2 hours in order to avail a seat inside of the restaurant. What did Zomato do? Zomato brought that reservation feature to your home. Now, using your phone, you can reserve a slot through Zomato in that particular restaurant, right? So that gap, okay, the gap of let's say you having go there and wait for your chance to avail the restaurant facilities, that gap was identified by Zomato, and that was the first solution that they put into place, right? But after that, Zomato was booming. It was a booming business. Okay, it was one of the first type of restaurant-based apps that arrived in our market, and there were lots of customers on it. But always you have to remember something, that each and every business, like I said, the solution itself sometimes have some gaps. Those are the gaps that we have to identify, right? It is not that all solutions that are available in the market, they are completely or 100% accurate, okay? The solutions that we come up with, they are at best approximate in nature, okay? They do not solve completely the problem, but some percentage of the problem or some section of the problem, right? If we have a solution in place, it doesn't mean that it would cater to all of our requirements. And that is something that you would have to understand. So Zomato, although it provided us with the feature of online booking or online reservation, there was still a problem with the solution. What if I didn't want to go to the restaurant? I wanted to have the food, but not at the restaurant, at the comfort of my home. In that case, what do I do? This was a startup company that came up in Bangalore. Okay, it was called Food Panda. Some of you might have heard about this term, or let's say its counterpart that is even today very popular in Kolkata. It's called Swiggy, right? So what did Swiggy do? Swiggy doesn't allow you to have any kind of online reservations or restaurant booking. They identified a very simple problem. I am a customer and I want to have a food from the restaurant, but I do not want to go to the restaurant, right? I want to have the food, I want to enjoy the meal at the comfort or at the luxury of my home. In that case, how do I provide the solution? Swiggy identified a very, very particular problem space. So what did they do? They simply brought a platform that connected the restaurant and the client. Now, what I can do as a customer, what I can do, I can place an order on the app. Swiggy, on our behalf, approaches the restaurant, fetches the meal, and delivers it to our home, right? So now we can have our entire meal, we can enjoy a meal from the restaurant at the comfort of our home, right? Zomato was already a major player in our market. But when Swiggy came up, even Zomato had to adopt to this kind of a home delivery system. And obviously, in the last 2 years, because of the pandemics, as we have seen, there are many, many companies, okay, which have come up with this home delivery system. We have Licious, which usually deliver fish and meat. We have seen Grofers, okay, delivering foods from the supermarkets. We have Big Basket, okay, delivering vegetables and fruits, etc., okay, right to your home. So this straight to home delivery system, this is something that came up from there, okay? That was the gap that was identified by Swiggy, and they came up with a solution. That particular solution now has been implemented not only in the particular restaurant domain, but in many other domains now, right? So solution that you come up with for one particular domain, it is not necessary that it can only be implemented in that domain itself. It can be implemented in many other domains, okay? So that also is a solution. So what we call an innovation, right? This is where the concept of innovation comes into play. See, businesses are run, Okay, and you have to understand that any kind of business, it runs on profitability. Okay, if I am part of an organization, if I am part of a let's say a company, if I have a startup company, I would want my company to have two things. Number one is the profit. Number two is the growth. How do I get more amount of growth? I get more amount of growth through profit. But there always comes a time in any kind of solution that flat lines in the market. Now, what do I mean by flat lines? When Zomato came into play, when they provided the feature of, let's say, online reservation system of restaurants, after a certain number of time, the total number of customers on that platform, it became stagnant. There were no new customers coming to the platform. Any idea that you come up with, it is very important for you to understand that how do we judge the success of an idea? How do we judge the success of a startup? We judge the success of a startup by the total number of new customers that you are attracting or repeated customers, okay, recurring customers, which are coming after a certain period of time over and over again, right? What Zomato observed was a flat line. There were no new customers coming onto their platform. And obviously, in those times or in those days, it was not a very common trend that each and every day you are going to go to a restaurant and have a meal. Okay, that is not a very feasible solution, right? So that was the problem space. So Zomato's business, although it was very booming when it first arrived, it flatlined. Okay, the profitability and the growth of the organization completely flatlined. What Swiggy did, Swiggy came up with a new solution, something that even Zomato had to adopt in the end. And because of this straight to home delivery system that Zomato later adopted, the IPO or the profitability and the growth of Zomato's organization again started expanding, right? So what do we call innovation? So innovation is any kind of idea, right, that transforms a business and results in greater profitability and growth for the organization. Any kind of idea that helps a business or it helps an organization to grow, to have more amount of profit, to attract more amount of customers, that is called an innovation. This is something that you may not know. Before, in today's generation, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have, let's say, Twitter, right? But in, let's say, 20 years or 30 years back, okay, we didn't have a social media platform. What did we have? We had something called Orkut. Okay, many of you may not even have heard the term Orkut, right? Orkut was a type of social media platform in those days. Okay, but what was the problem? Orkut wasn't something that was very far reaching to all of us. Okay, very few customers were attracted to Orkut. Then Mark Zuckerberg came up with something called Facebook. Why did Facebook become such a global leader in social media platform? Facebook, if you observe very carefully, each and every feature in Facebook you can use free of cost. Okay, we do not have to pay for any of the services that Facebook provides us. Then, how exactly is Facebook one of the leading giants in the entire global market? It is because of customers, the amount of customers, the amount of clients that Facebook could attract to their product. Okay, that was revolutionized. In those days, nobody could think that we could connect with a friend. Suppose I'm sitting over here in India and I have a friend in UK. I can connect with him on a regular basis like this, okay, over the online facility. It was something that was not conceived back then, right? We had email services, but we didn't have chat-based services, okay? So Facebook was the first social media platform that conceptualized this, which attracted lots and lots of customers away from Orkut, and that what made Facebook one of the leading giants today. But even then, I would like to point out something. Even when Facebook was at its pinnacle, I'm talking about, let's say, 10 years back, or even 7, 8 years back, right? Facebook was at its pinnacle. Okay, there was no other social media platform challenging Facebook. But there was one application that came up that rivaled in its customer base with Facebook. That application today is something what we call WhatsApp. Why was WhatsApp even more popular than Facebook? Because Facebook, although it provides us with the feature of talking with our friends and relatives, okay, far away in remote locations, but a very important aspect of WhatsApp was WhatsApp identified a very specific problem in Facebook. It is a very good platform for image sharing. It is a very good platform for suppose posts or video sharing, etc. But it is not a very good platform for actually chatting with your loved ones. WhatsApp identified that idea gap, and it came up with a very simplified solution that targeted a very small portion of the entire problem. Simple thing is chat. So WhatsApp created an application that only focused on chat, how to enhance your experience of chatting. And it became so popular that Facebook actually had to acquire WhatsApp to hold on to its customer base, right? Same thing also happened with Instagram. Instagram is a very simple application that provides us with just a platform for sharing images and videos, right? Nothing else. But it became so popular that again, Facebook had to acquire Instagram to hold on to its customer base. So these are innovation. Okay. What WhatsApp designed, what WhatsApp came up with, that is an innovation. What Instagram came up with, that is an innovation. There were leading social media platform in the market at that time. It was Facebook. Okay, it was one of the most leading giants at that time. Still, we had these problem areas which WhatsApp and Instagram could identify and they could target, right? So this is something what we call an innovation. Okay, so an innovation is something that targets specific problem gaps, okay, solution gaps, and it comes up with a solution that propels the business or propels the organization to the next atmosphere, right? So this is something that you'll have to understand, that not all ideas are innovative ideas, right? So which are actually innovative ideas, that is something that you'll have to understand. Okay, whenever you're coming up with an idea, you'll have to think for yourself, is this an innovative idea? How do you understand that? You understand that by this point, whether the idea that you're coming up with, can that propel the domain or propel the organization or the business to the next level, not in terms of growth, but also in terms of profitability, right? Now coming to idea formulation. Okay, now how do you formulate an idea? Now idea formulation, it is something called ideation. The actual technical term is called an ideation. It is a very creative process. Okay, you have to keep on thinking. Okay, it involves lots and lots of thinking, right? An idea doesn't come up in one day. Okay, that is something that you'll have to understand. Okay, idea is not something that you can find out in one day. Okay, an idea is something that you'll have to constantly work upon. Okay, on in a single day, it is not possible for any human being to come up with an innovative idea. Okay, but how can you come up with an innovative idea? You will first of all have to think of an idea and work on that idea. Keep on evolving that idea. Professor Jayanta Chaudhary sir had shared an image, if you have noticed carefully, that there was a huge pile of wires or a complete chaotic mess from which someone was unraveling that mess, okay, and streamlining the entire process. That is called the ideation process. At the very beginning, you have a jumble of ideas, okay, lots and lots of ideas you will be having, but you do not know which is actually an innovative idea. So in order to understand, in order to identify which is actually an innovative idea, how to separate out the innovative ideas from generalized ideas, you have to keep on evolving the idea. Okay, the more and more you think on your idea, the more and more you evolve your idea, even a very basic idea would eventually end up being an innovative idea. Okay, so that brings us to our next part, that is the ideation cycle. Okay, so I'm talking about evolution or the evolving of an idea, but how exactly would you evolve your idea? Okay, there are a couple of steps that you can very easily follow for evolving your particular idea. First of all is lead with user needs. Okay, there are 5 stages. First stage focuses on leading with user needs. You have to identify your user. You have to identify your customers. Okay, who are you targeting? What are their needs? Okay, that is something that you have to first of all identify. Until and unless you identify the requirement, until and unless you identify the needs of the user, you can never come up with a solution that would attract lots of users, right? That's number one. Number two, involving multifunctional teams. This is again something that Professor Jointi Chaudhary sir had discussed earlier, that when you're talking about an ideation process, when you're talking about formulation of an idea, you have to keep in mind that one person is not an expert on anything, right? I might be a very good engineer, but I might not be a very good marketing person, or I might not be a very good salesperson, or I might not be a very good architect, right? But suppose if I'm trying to design an idea that requires multiple expertise, not only engineering, but also marketing expertise, right? Again, let me bring you back to our original concept of Swiggy. Swiggy came up with a solution, okay, very popular solution. But it is not only enough for you to come up with a solution to a problem. You have to bring that solution to the people. You have to sell that idea. You have to sell that solution to the people, right? For that, you require someone of a marketing caliber or a marketing team. You are an engineer. You might not have that expertise, or you might not be that specialist in marketing, right? So that is why in any kind of product development or in any kind of ideation team, there's always people from multiple different domains. Each domain provides a unique facility or a unique feature to that particular product development, right? If I am an engineer, suppose if I am from computer science background, then I will be providing computer science based solutions. Okay, how to write the program, how to write the algorithm. For someone coming from an EC background, they can, if it is a hardware based product, then they can focus on the actual design of the product. Okay, then there can be a member from the marketing team whose objective would be to bring that product to the customer. Okay, to sell that product, to make the client or the customer feel attracted to your product. So that would be the job of the marketing team, right? So whenever you're going through an ideation cycle, first of all, you'll have to identify which are the domains which are required in your particular product design, right? And you will require members from those separate domains as well. It is a collective process, okay? All of you from the different domains, you'll have to collate together, you have to collaborate together to come up with the solution, right? The third stage is laying down the rules. Now, once you have your team, once you have your, let's say, your collaborators, the next thing that you have to do, you have to identify the limits, okay? You have to understand that what are the limits of the solution that you're proposing, right? A solution, let's say a solution A, although it might solve the problem, but you have to understand how much of the problem would be solved. Let me tell you something, or let me share with you a story. Suppose Uber, okay? Uber was the first cab-based service that came to Kolkata, okay? That is a popular concept that we all know. But very few of us would know that there was actually a cab-based service in Kolkata even before Uber. That was Meru Cabs, right? So this online cab booking facility that is rampant nowadays, and we all are very good users of it. This is not something that came to us through Uber. It already existed in the market. That was Meru Cabs. But what did Meru Cab fail to do that Uber did very well? Meru Cabs didn't understand the limit of their solution. Okay, they didn't define the boundary of their solution. The pricing model, the business model that Meru Cabs was utilizing, that segregated the entire population, and only a very few limited 1 or 2% of the population had the ability to access Meru Cabs, right? That is the reason why that particular solution or that particular business never took off. What Uber did, the moment it arrived in our market, it identified the Indian market very well. And it knew that costly solutions will not be very well received by our particular market. So what did they do? They came up with a pricing model that was actually popular for our particular market. Okay, they reduce their charges, they reduce their prices. Okay, they enhance the cab availability, and slowly and slowly, within a very short span of time, Uber completely took over the market, and Meru cabs were ousted from the Indian market. Right. So you have to identify the limitation of your solution if you want to grow your business. That's number 3. Number 4, separate idea generation and evaluation. See, this is a common psychology for all human beings. Anytime we come up with any kind of ideas, it sounds very good to us, right? We are a very biased kind of a person when we try to evaluate the actual applicability of our particular idea, right? If I come up with an idea and if you criticize my idea, there are very few people who are actually going to take note of that and actually work on their idea. Most of us, we are only going to think that most the audience is not able to visualize our vision, right? Very few people actually understand that the mind that generates an idea is not always the perfect mind to evaluate that particular idea. So you require a separate team, a neutral team, who can look upon your idea from a neutral point of view and help you to understand the limitations, the shortcomings of your particular idea. This is a very, very important step for your idea evolution. Okay. Idea evaluation is one of the most primary principle that drives the evaluation of an idea. Okay. The evolution of an idea can only be made if you can properly identify, you can properly evaluate your particular idea, right? And finally, as I said, the 5th and the most important point, if you are the team leader, if you are coming up with the idea, then it is very important for you to know how to communicate with idea, your particular idea, to your particular team, because you're the leader of the team. Your team is going to follow you. So if you are unable to communicate your vision, if you are unable to share your vision with your team, then the product, the app, your idea, then and there it's going to fail. Okay. If your team doesn't see your vision, your customers are definitely not going to see your vision, right? So any ideation cycle has to go through these 5 steps, and all of them are equally important, right? Successful ideation session. What are the characteristics of a successful ideation session? First of all, time-bound session. Okay. You have to fix a given amount of time for your idea. I'll give you a very practical example because all of you are students. Okay, many a times as students, what did we think? That suppose I had to finish a chapter. Okay, I'm studying a subject and I have to finish a chapter. What would I think? Okay, I'll start the chapter today and let's see when I finish. Okay, there is no time bound in it. What is the problem? I do not have any discipline. Okay, if I take this kind of an approach, I'll never have a disciplined approach towards my idea formulation, right? So the chapter that I'm starting today, I do not know when I'm going to finish with that chapter. The idea that I am thinking about today, I have no clue or no idea when I'm going to finish the evolution of that particular idea, right? So it is very important that you come up with a time bound session. You have to put a limit on the time, how much time you're going to wait or how much time you're going to dedicate for the evaluation of that idea, right? Suppose if I'm starting to read a chapter of a book, okay, from our curriculum, then I have to fix that I'm only going to invest 3 hours, and within this 3 hours, I'm going to finish the chapter. Definitely, I can have more number of time or more number of sessions dedicated towards revision. That is an obvious. But the first prototype or the first, let's say, draft of my idea or the first draft of my ideation process has to be ready within the first 3 hours. Okay. So after that, we are going to then, let's say, sit with another 2 hours for the revision part. another 2 hours for the evaluation part. Okay, the more and more we sit together, we are going to evolve our idea to the finally reaching the innovative stage. Next point is have lots of post-it notes. Now, this is something that you must have heard very commonly, okay, from your elders as well, that whenever you're studying something, always write it down. Okay, why is that very important? That because as human beings, we are much more, let's say, active in our visual cortex. Okay, we observe better than we actually hear, right? If someone tells us something, if someone shares with us any idea, we might understand the idea, we may not understand that idea. Let me give you an example. Suppose this session that we're having, if I didn't share with you this PPT or this slide, and I only had given you an audio session, right? Some of you might have grabbed that, some of you might not have understood, right? But since I'm sharing the points visually, so it becomes easier for you to actually grab on to the concepts that I'm discussing, right? This is a psychology of the human being. Okay, any human being, they are much more adept at understanding concepts when presented visually to them, right? So that is a very important point. Whenever you're coming up with any idea, whenever you're thinking of any idea, always write it down. And finally, an ideation session should be free on the quantity box. There should not be any limit on the volume of your idea. Okay, your idea can range from, let's say, the design of a drone to the design of a spaceship. Okay, there should not be any limit on the volume of your idea. Where should the limit reside? The limit should reside on the feasibility of your idea. If you can't visualize the future of your idea, then 90 to 95% of the time, those ideas are not actually innovative in nature. If a company comes up, let's say if a startup company comes up for automobile design or vehicle manufacturing, if they don't have the vision of designing futuristic cars or let's say electric cars or solar powered cars, then that particular company, as is very evident now with all the new competitors in the market, will never have a future. Petroleum based or diesel based cars don't have a future. That is the reality. Okay, electric cars or solar powered cars, natural powered cars, they are the future. So if I start a company now and I do not have a vision for what kind of a future I want for my company, then that particular company will never have a future, right? So whenever I'm coming up with any idea, I should always have an idea of what the future of that idea would be. So never put a limit on the volume of your idea. Okay, your idea should span from a drone design to a spaceship design, right? Just a quick brush up. These are the points which are already Joyanta sir has already discussed with you. Features of an ideation session, like I said, brainstorming, mind mapping, sketch storm, storyboarding. Okay, brainstorming, discussing among your peer group. Okay, if it is a team of 4 to 5 students, you sit together, you talk amongst yourself, brainstorm, come up with an idea. Mind mapping, like I said, visualization of an idea, very very important. Okay, sketch storm, putting your idea in the form of sketches, okay, in the form of diagrams, okay, presenting your idea. And finally, storyboard. How exactly is your idea evolving? That is something that is very important for you to keep a track on, right? Your idea starting from day one to the idea on your day 100. It's going to have a hell and heaven difference. So the journey of your idea should always be documented, as Jayanta Chaudhary sir also explained, right? Some tools for ideation which are available, okay, for mind mapping or for your storyboarding, sketching, etc. Design Kit is a very good platform, okay, which you can utilize for your storyboarding or your sketching. Then you have Mock Plus as well, okay, all-in-one design platform. You can design your ideas, you can design your concepts over here, okay, link your ideas together or create a storyboard, how your ideas are evolving over time. And one more we have that is called the Session Lab. It is a simple enough technology, but very powerful because over here you can have discussions, you can create ideas, okay, you can have innovative techniques over here as well, with the help of which you can evolve your idea, you can create your storyboard, etc. Right? And just a couple of case studies that I'm going to share with you. First of all, this is a very open case study that is being worked upon right now. This is Amazon Prime Air. Okay, we know Amazon services, okay, how they deliver their products to us. Now what they're working on is they're trying to design or come up with a drone-based service. Okay, instead of human beings, they're trying to deploy drones which are going to carry the product from the warehouse to your home. Okay, so this is an innovative idea. What is the problem utilizing a human delivery system? Human beings have some limitations. Okay, what are the limitations? They can become tired. There is a limit on how many deliveries they can make in a given day. Okay, apart from that, there are also many road hassles because they're traveling by road. Okay, there are traffic issues, there might be logistical issues, and you have to keep in mind that any kind of traffic issues actually piles up and reduces the operational let's say accuracy or the performance of an organization. So substituting that by a drone based solution, that is actually going to enhance the company's output. Okay, so this is a very good innovative solution they're working on. And another idea, this is just an idea I'm giving you, okay, a design idea. Two separate concepts, okay, which currently are being worked upon. Number one is some students in Wisconsin district, okay, they are trying to provide internet services with the help of drones, okay, to different rural areas. That's idea one. What is idea two? Airborne drones, they are being designed to be powered by solar energy. The idea over here is, or just a brainstorming session, a concept over here is, can we bring these two ideas together, right? So suppose this concept of providing internet services to rural areas with the help of drones, can it be done with the help of solar powered drones? Solar powered drones are already being used to map the geography. Can it be used in this context as well to provide unlimited internet access to rural India? Okay, so this is a combination of ideas. So whenever you are sitting down for a brainstorming session, doesn't mean that only one idea would come up. There can be multiple ideas which are coming. And it would be your responsibility to merge all those ideas and come up with something unique, something innovative. That is always an option, right? So just a couple of points. Most of it Joyanta sir has already discussed. What are the skills that you're going to need? Management skills, technical skills, entrepreneurship skills, right? Whenever you're coming up with an idea, you have to understand what are the technical information or the technical expertise that you're going to need. Like I said, what are the marketing team that you're going to need, marketing skills you're going to need. And obviously you have to come up with a budget, you have to come up with a deadline, right? So these are some of the later on models that you have to work upon once you have your idea in place, right? So I believe that's the last part. And so that's overall on ideation process, how exactly the ideation is actually being done. And I think the Q&A session would be held later on after the next guest speaker. So I hope you enjoyed the session. And Mumta ma'am, so over to you.
Thank you very much, Shupratim. And again, a bunch of insights to think on and build on. Indeed, so much to learn from simple things. The ability that you display of simplifying things and putting them across to the student that he can just pick it up from there, he or she, is absolutely brilliant. I thank you for providing them with so much of fodder. Now, what they do about it is, they will also get the qualifications in the Q&A session. And that is why, without further ado, I now invite our very dear Professor Helena Sendita, Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, and the convener of Institutions Innovation Council. Helena, over to you, please.
Thank you, Moumita. So today we are going to talk, we have had enough insights from Professor Supratim Ghosh and from Professor Joyanta Ghosh. I would just want to now talk about ideation and design thinking. So there are a lot of problems in our life, in all around our life and with people. So let's see how we can use these to our own benefit. And one methodology with ideation already Supratim has spoken about, and it is a part of design thinking. So I will not take much time. Let me share my screen. Give me a moment, please. Moumita, is it visible?
Yes, madam, it's visible clearly.
Okay. So the ability to solve problems is a basic life skill and is essential to our day-to-day lives at home, at school, and at work. We solve problems every day without really thinking about how we solve them. Now, let us give an example. Say, for example, it's raining and you need to go out to a store or somewhere. It's very urgent for you to go. So what are you going to do then? You have not many options. What you can do is, probable solution is you take an umbrella and walk. If you do not want to get wet, you can drive, or you can take a bus. You can call some of your friends and ask that person to give you a ride in his or her car. Or you might decide that, okay, no, I will not go today. I will go on some other day itself. So these are the options that you're having in front of you, but these are not the final solutions. So what do you do? So, I mean, there is no right or wrong. What do you call it? You don't have a right or a wrong in it. So there's not one particular solution to everything that you have. So, but why are we talking about this problem solving? Why is it so important? So you need to understand that too. So good problem solving skills actually empower you, and not only in your personal life, but also it is critically required in your professional life. So as you see this fast changing global economy, the employers are often identifying everyday problem solving as crucial to the success of the organization. Say if you are two of you are getting a job in a particular company, and if one of you can give quick solutions to certain little problem, so obviously the person who can give the problem solving is faster, then the dependency of the company towards that person becomes more. So let me give you another small little bit of an insight. We find kids today to crib a lot. We keep complaining that about anything and everything around us. So why not create a culture of problem solving during the upbringing of the children and imbibe this as a habit? Now, example which I'm going to give you is, see, when you are a kid, I presume that you were a very good person who would always want the teacher, whatever the problem the teacher used to give, you know how to give a solution to it. You must have actually scored good marks and graduated successfully. But if you introspect, you would find that after graduating, something was missing. You might be having lots of ideas to change the world, but had no idea where to start from. Basically, all these years, you have been spending your time learning how to get the right answer to the idea of trying something that might lead to wrong answers petrified you. So what are you doing? You're saying, okay, I need to score marks and I have to be perfect at the right first place itself. So you are not trying any other options. You're not trying other methodologies because you were fearing that you may fail. So secondly, you did not have the experience of solving a complex problem, and because you had no clear one solution to that. So you thought that if I don't have a single solution to a particular problem, so you did not actually even think about it. So design thinking is what is required at this juncture. It gives you the problem solving skills. It is a methodology as to how to address problem, which you have no clear idea as to what the end solution would look like. So what you learn in this process is to identify need somewhere in the community and then going out and asking a lot of really good questions. And through those questions, you are uncovering that brilliant idea that you're having. So does the design thinking start with the users? No. Does it start with the clients? I'll say no. Does it start with the customers? Again, the answer is no. Is it with the stakeholders? No. Borrowers? No. And lenders? No. So where does it start with? It starts with people. So what are the people wanting? That is what we are more interested into. So what you need to know is you need to identify the problem first. So you're discovering it. And to do this, there are many methodologies. We'll talk about those when we go along with the slides. Then from when you discover, you define the problem actually. And from the defined position, what you do is you are developing a concept, a prototype, or are you testing it? And then finally, you would be delivering the product. Now, if you look into the basic definition of what designing is, then as per Steve Jobs says, design is not just what it looks like and feel like. Design is what works. So what is working for the people is more important. Similarly, there's this person called Tim Brown. He is the British industrial designer and president of IDEO. As per him, design thinking is a human-centered and collaborative approach to problem solving, using a design mindset to solve complex problems. It's simple in definition, but I'll make you understand as we go along as to what it actually means. So what is design thinking? Design thinking is an iterative process. It's not one single solution you're going to see. I am emphasizing on the word iterative. So it's an iterative process in which we seek to understand the user, challenge the assumptions, because you are assuming so many things. There'll be a group of people who will sit together, and it's not one single person who can do it. You need, varied mindset people along with you. It's a teamwork. And then you have to redefine problem. In this, what you're doing in attempt to identify alternative strategies and solutions that might not be instantly apparent with your initial level of understanding. At the same time, design thinking provides a solution-based approach to solving problems. It is a way of thinking and working as well as a collection of hands-on methods. So you're seeing that what I said was it's a focus on the human values. It has high level of uncertainty. You don't know whether that problem is going to it is going to solve the problem or not, which way to go. It will confuse you entirely, and maybe you don't even have any data. So that may be the situation then where you start with. So what exactly it is actually a 5-step process to come up with meaningful ideas to solve real problems from a particular group of people. So you're not focusing the entire world for it. You will just focus on a little small group of people, and then you'll bring out the thing out of it. It has brought many business, lots of happy customers, and helped entrepreneurs from all around the world to solve problems with innovative new ideas. So if you see, it is what we'll be doing, what we are going to do out of it is changing the products. There'll be some product is available in the market, and you see that every time it is getting upgraded, changed, some modifications, some incorporated. And those who are from the software background, there are so many releases, release 1, 2, 3, 4. It is ever changing. Look into the mobile industry, the handsets are changing, ever changing. There is always an upgrade. Why? Because we're taking some feedback from the customers, the end users, and we're trying to incorporate that into the thing. And we are trying to improvise further on it. It goes about going through the market with what they really want. So today, when the mobile industry had come in, Was there a demand for the smartphone? No, not exactly, not really. But now that you have a smartphone, you were not even bothered about when you first bought it as to what the capacity of it would be. Now you want 8G, you want, if probably if there is a faster one, you would go for that, running around for that. Even the capacity matters. The various quality of the camera matters, because that's the need of the hour. That's the demand. The market is wanting it. The people are wanting it. So what basically we say, we said that it is a human-centric design thinking. So what, through the lens of a human-centric design, when we say what it actually means, the 4 things basically, there are many, but you can concentrate on these 4 which I have mentioned over here, that there's a desirability. What does it mean? What do consumer desire? What they want? How well does the solution meet the needs of the end user? That is to be thought about. Then thing is feasibility. That what is technically and organizationally feasible. Say you have certain resources. You may not be wanting to invest much. Now, if you can build a house, or you can build some, anything we want to do with the basic things which are generally traditional. But now you might think like the Taj Mahal is there, it is made up of marble. That was the demand. But can it be the capacity of every person to do it? No. Can it be the capacity of everyone to provide it? No. So there are limited resources, there are limited things. So we need to know that if as a company you are doing, or as an entrepreneur, you're trying to do some solutions, then in that case, how feasible it is technically and organizational. Then comes the viability, which is coming as a financial viability. That is one part. It is also about expandability, means if you want to multiply that idea, you want to replicate that idea across the geography, whether it is possible or not. So maybe you'll try with a group of people, as we said. Then you expand it to maybe from a group of people, you are trying to do it in let me say a small thing. You start with something, you find a solution, and you're trying to do something for Techno India University. Can it be replicated for other colleges, institutes? Can it be replicated not only to the Institute of West Bengal? Can it be replicated for all the states? Can it be replicated for all the other countries? So that is what we mean by expandability. Now, over there, as we said in the previous one, that there is desirability, there's feasibility, and viability. You will see that if you are trying to put these 3 things as sets and you want an interaction of it, so you see that that spot in between, which is the overlap of the desirability, viability, and the feasibility, is your design innovation. That is what is more important. You start with the desirability, you go in with the feasibility, you see, check the viability, and then the final thing which you get is a design innovation. So, as I said, it's a human-centered design lens. So that is what I explained to you in the previous slides also. In the process of innovation, design thinking is a topic which is very important. It is a philosophy and a set of tools to help solve problem creatively. When a company is trying to create something new, or a company is trying to solve a problem, a team actually is trying to solve a complex problem. And design thinking can be used to get that solution. There are many processes which can be used for problem solving. Design thinking specifically focus on human-centered side of creative problem solving. Now, in this regard, I would say that the previous professors have been telling you about so many things and other things. So it's not always that you have to always do a big academic research on something. Yes, that is important. But when it comes to design thinking and these things, you will see that little solutions also can create a big impact. And from that little solutions, you can become good, big entrepreneurs also. So there are 5 main steps when you think about design thinking process. Even though in each of these steps, the exercises themselves, there are many exercises to be done, the specific process is very flexible. It is not that you just keep on there. You have to be interactive between one step to the other. You have to come back again and again. So that thing is there always. So the first step which we said is empathize. And this empathize is basically who are we making this for? That is what we are talking about. What is empathize? The purpose of step 1 is to conduct. What will you do? You'll be conducting interviews that give you an idea about what people really care about. We need to empathize with this solution and the situation, and understand the people you're going to design the product for, or for the service what you're going to provide to that person. In this step, actually, what you're doing is you're gathering information. And how do you gathering information? You are going to conduct interviews. You might be creating some persona. You might be, who am I making? Ask yourself, who am I making it for? What is their problem? What do these people do basically? And this empathizing with people, you will have to empathize with them basically to find out what exactly you're designing over there. So there, when you do it, you are, as I said, you will be having discussions with groups of people. So you will be observing what they are saying. You will be engaging them, and then you'll be immersing them into it. So there is actually a deep understanding. I will take you the entire thing through an example to make things simpler. So, for example, if you want to help old people, you might find that they want to keep, your first idea came to your mind is you want to help some group of old people. Now you want to understand, what do I do? So first you think, you just imagine that you have gone to these people and you're interviewing them. Now keeping, and when you go to them, you see that they want to keep the ability to walk around. That's one of the issue which old people have. They don't have that flexibility of moving around. So in your conversation, they might share with you different ways that they can do that. So when you're conducting the interview, each and every point is important. It might look like a story that the person is saying. You may not like to be hearing, okay, he's sick, this old lady or this old man is cribbing and saying so many things. He or she might be telling so many other stories in between. But you have to listen to all, because you never know what solution you are going to grab out of it, or what you might be targeting some particular problem, and ultimately you land up with a different thing altogether. But that is also viable. So later into the interview, you will want to dig a little deeper. Look for personal stories or situations where things became difficult. And ideally, you will do this process again and again with many people. So this is what we are doing. So over here, when you look into this slide, it's basically somebody saying that I want to walk around and there's so much of stones in the first picture which you're seeing. The second one might be saying, oh, I have an issue because when I have a wheelchair, but when I'm near the staircase, I have a problem in climbing up and climbing down. A third person might be saying, I in fact have a problem of, from moving from the stair, from the walking stick to the chair, and from the chair to the thing. The other person might be saying that, okay, I want to go actually to some, what do you call it, a shop and do a shopping myself. People don't allow me because I have a problem from there. So these things will basically happen. So basically what I'm going to take from it is, after you have a list of things, you have to identify which one, and which one which you are going to get is, then you will say, okay, this is the problem. This one is a common problem. And you are basically segregating those. This one is a common challenge. And then they will say, this is an observation we are able to make. Then how do you take everything that is learned in the empathization and turn that? That is what is important that you're going to do over there. So the take from this empathize thing, what you're doing is, you come to the next step, and that is called the define. So in define, you're taking everything that you learned in step 1 in the empathize step, and you are defining and you're really kind of breaking it down and coming to conclusions about what are the users' needs on everything you have learned from interviewing these people. So what are their needs? What are their problems? What are their challenges? What are the types of things? What are the insights we could use from their these interviews that you have done from the empathizing that with the users, with the customers? And from here, it is important that what are we talking taking from that, and what actually we are able to use, which information we are able to use from it. And then, as I said, we have defined what we are going to do from there. So here what we are doing is, when you are taking everything, as I already mentioned this, sorry. You have, this is what you do basically. Now from this, what you do is you're creating a problem statement. So how are you going to create a problem statement? So what you do is how to support or assist or help. So we are going to find out how that answer to how to. And how are you going to do it? By creating a service or a facility. And how, for what are you doing it? For betterment of human experience. So this, if you can frame out by the way I have written, how to support, assist, help by creating service facility for betterment of human experience. So my support, assist, help is one part of the story which you're going to get out of the empathize thing. And creating service facility, you're thinking what service you're going to provide over there. And then it is for the, for what, over here it is movement in the story, it is the easy movement of the old people. So for easy movement of the people over here, this will become my problem statement over here. So looking at the interviews, you can now understand actual needs people are trying to fulfill with their certain activities. The actual needs that people are trying, what they want is one way to do is to define, underline the verbs or activities that people mention when talking about their problem. So one person might be saying that, as I said, feels like going out with friends. One person will say, no, I feel like going out to the park. The other person might say, okay, I want to go to the grocery shop myself. So these are the various things that are coming out. So you have to find out a common thing out of it. The common thing is basically the mobility of the old people that has to be eased out. So these three persons have given three different stories. One wants to go and chat with a friend and have a tea or coffee with that person. One is, no, I should be going to the grocery shop or going to the mall or something like that. The third person is, I need to have a walk every day and go to the garden and everything. So three stories different, but from here, the take, again, I repeat, is that it is basically the mobility which we are talking about. So you might realize it's not so much about going out, but it is more about staying in touch. After your analysis, you're formulating a problem statement. So some elderly are afraid to be lonely. They want to be to stay connected. This can be your problem statement. Now, after this, what do you do? So the next step is ideate. Though on ideate, the previous speaker has already said a lot of methodologies how to do it. So, but what basically are you doing over here? It is actually, ideation refers to the process of developing and conveying prescriptive ideas to others, typically in a business setting. It is describing a sequence of thoughts from original concept to implementation. So ideation can spring forth from past to present knowledge, external influences, opinions, convictions, or principles. And it can be, now what does it mean? So as I told you earlier, that it is actually a group session where you are going to have brainstorming and various thought processes where people will be giving different things, and generally even there's a time bound process wherein you are given a very short time and you are said, okay, what are the options which are going to come into your mind? So you jot down into various maybe post-its and other things, and then you are coming around with those ideas and then formulating it. So you can then represent. Now these ideas, you can, it's not that always you have to write it as basic in like in a language. You can also do a graphical thing. You can put in verbal terms. You can put it in writing. Any form you are actually representing it. Now, this ideation is a creative process of generating new ideas, which can be accomplished through a variety of ideation techniques, as already has been said, such as brainstorming and prototyping. Now, if you're doing it in the right way, it helps the founders and the executives to find a right problem to solve and how to solve it. So you're knowing what the problem statement is basically. Now, when you're taking up everything you've learned in the last two steps, then what you're doing in the ideation, you're coming up with solutions. You're coming up with ideas. You're coming up with potential matches of products and services. So basically, you had something, I mean, many people, you are continuously brainstorming and coming out with things. Now, all the solution may not meet up to the demand. So, but it may be coming closer and closer. And these things will go hand in hand continuously. Now, when you had some solution, you have some definition, and from there you will get certain outcomes from it. So the best match of your solution and insight you have figured out, and you are now going a step further of the design thinking. So next step, as I said, you can be having all these data in the post-its. You can write it over there. You can have closed sessions over there, and then you are trying to figure it out. Now, what you're doing is that you are coming together and coming up with ideas. Often that is the bit that looks sort of brainstorming workshop. It might seem that you're actually conducting a brainstorming workshop. You have got post-its and you put it everywhere. You now segregate those and come out and think which are the common ones, which can be, and you can put it into different buckets. You and see which is the feasible one, which is viable, and all those things you're going to do with those things. I mean, in that process, basically. So now when you are thinking of these things, so you are basically coming back to the example of example in consideration. What you're doing is now focus on the problem statement and come up with idea that solve the problem. Now you can see from this figure, somebody has actually one solution could be that you have actually made the first left corner, top corner, you can see that is basically some holding material with which you are having 4 rollers and the bottom. Another one is something, I mean, you can come up with wild ideas basically. The second one you are having is you are basically having some skateboard type of a thing which is movable and you have a control over it, so you can move around. Third one is you are actually using AI and all, and I mean, not AI, what do you call it, virtual reality and all those things, and you feel that, okay, I am moving around places. So there will be different things that are going to come up in your head when you are trying to do this. So you sketch it up and then you can again sit down and obviously when you again talk about the various ideas which has come up, so some of you can just pick up the best one which you think is the feasible one. So this brings us to the 4th step, which is the prototype. So you have sketched it out. You have some vague ideas as to what you're going to do. Now what you're doing is you are talking all these, taking all these ideas, you're breaking it down into a select few that you think might be worth making into something more realistic, and you're turning these ideas into simple testable prototypes. They're not fully designed, understand that. They're not fully coded, or they are not fully made into the real thing, but they are essentially a facade. They're essentially a fake thing, but it will give you a visual idea as to how it will look like, what the things it can be, and those type of a thing you can do. Whether that's a digital product or a physical product, you're just trying to quickly make something that you can test with real users. That is the final step. So from here, you go to the prototyping, as I said. So you have made certain various type of things. So here what we have done is we have thought that, okay, a walking stick can be replaced by this type of a thing, Or maybe we can, from this, you thought, no, why do I do this? I can have a single walking stick and I have a 4 rollers at the bottom. See, this is what is being shortlisted, and this is the product that you are coming up. I mean, I again repeat, there is no one single solution. This is an example to make you people understand as to how it goes about. So after you have prepared it, now comes the testing stage. So in this testing stage, what are you doing? In the test phase, you are taking your prototype and you are, based on what you have created in the 3rd step and the 4th step, now you are on the final step where you are testing the real people. Now you're going to take this and you're going to actually go to the people and ask them how much is their the product near to their expectation. That these real people are those who you selected based on what you learn in step 1. So you're not going to a different category of people. You're going to go to the same people from where you had got these ideas, who were having this problem. So you go to them, essentially these real people are going to use the product and you're going to get feedback from them in real time based on what they are using. So you go back to the, so when you have tested it and you get a feedback from them, so you go back to the cycle. Now, since you got a feedback, so definitely there will be certain things which you have not incorporated, or maybe you have missed out. So you again are going to the define stage. That was step 2. So you go from test once, you go back, I've got some test results, you're going back again to define stage over here. From there, when you go to the define stage, again, because you have got certain ideas to be incorporated, you again have to go to the ideate stage. There are going to be a lot of new insights that you're going to get. So you're going to gather them together again. You're going back to define phase and you are back to the ideate phase once again. Based on your new learnings, you're coming up with, again, new ideas. You're going to come to a new ideas and you have updated ideas now. And you're back to the prototype again. So you will see that this dotted lines which I have given over here, though these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, these are the stages, but it is not restricted to it. It is, say, in those from the computer science background, you know that there's even for a software, you have a life cycle of the software development. So you again and again get incorporated. As I said, that you have version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It keeps on release 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It keeps on getting upgraded. So same thing is happening. Same over here also. So here, so you are coming back to the core design thinking cycle again and again till the final thing is being created. So now you have test your prototype with actual users and don't defend your idea. I mean, when they're saying giving you some idea about the feedback, don't try to say no. This is the purpose of it, or no. This is not to be used this way. You have to use it this way. Don't say anything. Just take plain simple feedback. Be ready for the criticism. The more criticism you take, you will be able to incorporate more. The facilities in it, the more usability of it by the masses who are going to use it. Then you go back to the ideation and prototyping thing again and apply your learning, repeat the process until you have a product that works and solves a real problem. So this is a cycle that is going to go on and on. Now, when you are ready to change the world or open a shop, when you have already created a final product over here. So you can just go to the shop and now your product is ready to be sold. So, and these steps which we are talking about, the 5 steps which we are talking about. So you'll be seeing this every time. These 5 steps are sort of zoomed out map of how a design thinking process works. However, when you are exercising within these circles are not defined, you cannot say what exactly is the process in each step. This is all versatile. There are different methodologies. There are different ways that you can do it. So in design thinking, you have a broad map you're going to be doing over the next few weeks or months or years. But there is no rule said that you have to do this exercise, you have to do this persona, you have to do this. Whereas in designs, this is not defined over there in that way. So now that these different methodologies are, so this is what exactly is there when what it happens. Now, just to give you certain ideas of, I'll show you 2 videos which you can, which would be of great interest to you, and you will see that how solutions are being given. Give me a moment, please. Just give me a moment till I connect. There's this
South Korea, a country devoid of.
just a moment. So this this is a place in South Korea where you will see that
Helena ma'am,
Come out of
Yeah.
the culture. Yeah.
Helena ma'am,
I think
actually, the event time is till 6 p.m. So please accordingly just conduct.
okay, I'll just show now. Then in that case, I will show you some other thing. Okay, I won't show the entire thing. I'll just show you some part of it. So you will see that. I'll just fast forward and show you. See, let me know if the audio is audible or not. First, tell me that.
US Oil, one of the 4 oil companies in Korea, took action.
Is the audio audible? Hello?
Madam, it's
Yes, yes.
faint to me. It's audible, but it's a little faint.
Okay, no, I don't want to then put it on audio. 1 second. See, I'll just say this problem, I'll just, tell you this thing. There's a problem of parking in this area. So what they have done is to find the solution, what was happening was you have to go out round and round and round at different places to get this parking. And so you're losing on oil over there. Now, what they did is they just found out a balloon system wherein you're just putting a thread and a balloon over there. And you from far away, you see that the parking is available. So it's very simple. Only thing is that you have a thread. You can see that, and the moment you park, the thread goes down. So the balloon is no more visible. But the moment the car is going off, it goes straight up. So from far away, you can see that there's a parking slot here. Otherwise, this car had to go around and round everywhere, where to just to waste time and fuel to understand where the parking slot is. So it's as simple as that. So this is what I wanted to show you. And since we are paucity of time, so maybe we will conclude it here itself. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Madam, if you could come out of the screen share, please.
Yes. I think I'm come out.
So, ma'am, I think it's a absolutely brilliant presentation, particularly the example that you have found out tells us actually how simple things can be if we are actually starting with the human being, as you have said.
Absolutely.
So that was something very, very interesting. And actually, I have a set of questions, and I think that even there are students who have put some questions in the question box. So one question is by Sovik Pal, who writes, how to think about the right idea in a very short time.
So, Supratim, any one of you would write that, or I give a reply?
I think all of us can reply on that.
Yeah.
If you
please.
ask regarding this particular question, that how we can come up with a right idea in a short time, actually, there is no time limit to coming up with a right idea. But what you can do is you can at least take a disciplined approach to your idea evolution, like I said. So even if you are unable to declare any kind of deadline to coming up with an idea, like See, the thing is that I can't ask you or give you a deadline that I give you 24 hours, come up with an idea. That is not a feasible process. At least that's what I think. So that is not something that promotes an idea growth. Rather, what you can do is always invest a fixed amount of time, suppose 2 hours or 3 hours, dedicate that towards your idea each and every day. Make that a discipline. So if not in 24 hours, maybe in a week or 2 weeks, you will come up with finally a good enough idea. Number one. And number two, I would like to say is that there is no such term as right idea. Okay. Whenever you're coming up with an idea, if that is good enough as per your evaluation, if that is good enough for marketing or for actual implementation, I would say go for it. Okay, start with your idea implementation. The more you implement your idea, automatically your idea is going to evolve and it's going to become better and better. At least that's my opinion.
Jayantu sir?
No, I think I will just echo what Shukdev sir said. In fact, at the very outset, I should say that the Shovik's question is basically the biggest problem. So we are discussing problem solving and ideation. So the biggest problem that the question that Shovik asked is the biggest problem, how to think about the right idea. And there's the qualifiers or adjectives or right and short are very relative. So if you ask me a very short answer, I will say you cannot think of a right idea in a short time. Absolutely no. I will be very blunt with you. It is a continuous process. You will have good ideas. It may not be the best. Over time, it will mature, as other faculty members and other professors have outlined already. And you have to bounce your ideas with others, with experts. And it will not be a short piece of time unless it's like the apple falling from the sky on Newton's head.
Very true. Helena, madam, anything to add?
No, it's aptly answered already. And I had already, with the start of my this presentation, I'd already said there's no one single right or wrong to any solution. Cannot be absolutely right, or one cannot be a perfect one. It takes time. Creativity is one more important thing which is required, and it doesn't come just like that. It really requires some time and proper thinking and thought processing. And it is a life cycle process that you can create finally.
Moreover, all three of you were talking about idea combo. You see, one thing might be working, and when you tend to combine it with something else, there may be a fresh set of problems which may lead to inadvertent time wastage. One can't help that. Like the Swiggy, Zomato, these examples, where we were combining more than two ideas. Initially, those ideas were working very well. But somewhere along the line, when we tried to bring that particular element in it as well, it became problematic. So I guess that is where I think the second question will probably, Chaitanya Agarwal asks, can innovation start with very simple things?
I would like to answer that. I would request you guys to just Google out Scrub Daddy, SCRUB, Scrub Daddy, and see that it's a simple scrub through which a person have become so famous, and he has opened his entrepreneurship. So it's a scrub which he has created in the shape of a smiley. It also have, when the way we make a sun, it has got zigzag around it. It has got two eyes and one smiley face inside it. So that piece of thing, it's simple. It's just simple, and how he has explained that how it is to be used. I mean, I think your question can be answered just by watching that little video from Scrub Daddy.
I also remember, I have the honor of actually doing a lot of IIC sessions now. And one of the entrepreneurs, young entrepreneur, he had these small utensils, pottery and everything, and added some innovative designs, some painting according to situations, according to festivals. these limited editions keep coming, and he has now a store in almost every major store airport in India now, small stores. So it is something great to watch, how those small things, and you can keep combining. When it is smaller, I think you can combine better. So that is a beautiful thing that I'm learning from you people. Such a great learning
One
session,
thing I would
really.
just like to add, Momita ma'am, regarding this particular point, that the question Chaitanya had asked, innovation starts with simple things or not. Chaitanya, one thing that you should always keep in mind, and this is for all the attendees, that simplicity is not actually simple. Our mind is actually trained to solve complex problems, not simple problems. So even if the simplest solution stares blank at our eye, our mind is going to divert towards complex solutions. So if I give you a problem of, suppose, solve 2 into 2, I can blindly see that I don't have to perform multiplication. I can just simply perform 2 plus 2 equal to 4. But our mind is going to divert you towards multiplication, which is a much more complex process. So most of the innovations you're going to see, they're actually simple solutions, like Uber. What did Uber do? Nothing. Actually, they do not have any kind of assets. The cars, they are being owned by their respective owners. The customers, they are separate. Only thing Uber does is provide a platform to connect the cars with the customers, nothing else. So it's one of the most simplest solution that they have provided, but it is not actually the simplicity is not simple. That's the point that I'm trying to bring up here. Thanks.
Joyantu sir said,
Yeah.
there is a class 9 problem and there is a class 6 problem, and the answer is the same.
Yeah, how you represent that is the idea. In fact, I just would add to what Helena ma'am and Shubham sir just said, just same thing in a different way. I mean, you look at the how the Kargil war started, right? How we knew that there was some encroachers coming into our region. It was through those people, those shepherds, right? From whom those information came. So they have these people planted around. So those are simple ideas where you can get very secret and important information. See, we are talking about information is beyond normal life. It is military information. Those things you could have codes written on packets and transported everywhere. Only I will know what code I have sent. These simple things, either with simple symbols, where you start from the Harappan civilization of drawing those things, right from today, you have vast areas which you can utilize to generate these ideas. So problems are basically germinating from your ideas, simple things. As he said, simple things are not very simple.
To add to that, you must have studied in your lower classes, the example of Columbus. Columbus was, the people used to envy him and like, what is it? These things are so simple. We can also solve it. So one day, what he said, sitting on a round table, he said he gave handed over an egg and told everybody, okay, I give you this challenge. Keep the egg upright. And everybody tried it. If nobody could keep it upright, it would just slant and become horizontal. It wasn't vertical. So lastly, when it came to him, this is an impossible thing. It can't happen. So what he did is he slightly tapped the bottom of it. So it cracked a little and then he kept it straight. So people said, oh, this is so simple. We could have done, we also can do it. They said, yes, you can do it. But the thing is, you never thought it. So this is, it's as simple as that. As sir also said that we are actually always tuned to do critical things and tuned to make problems critical. We make the problem critical, but there are actually very simple solutions and very simple innovations that you people can actually come up with. And I am very confident that most of you, if you try, can actually come up with many of the new innovations and inventions maybe. So that's it.
We are almost completely out of time. Just one last question that is there in the box. It's by Ishika Shaha. How do we make our ideas come to life? How do you make them shine?
So I think that's the last stage of whatever we have done. So that means This question assumes that you already have an idea which is about to be implemented. It's just waiting at the station and the train is just about to move. So that is the implementation stage. I think for that, you need the raw materials. Since you have the idea, you know what are the inputs, you know what are the outputs, what are the conditions, what are the constraints. So you have to just list out everything in a listed form, and then go about acquiring each. If it's an input, acquiring them, get the right resourcing, as Professor Supratim sir has said, get the right resources. As Helena ma'am has already said, you form teams, multi-skilled teams, get the idea. So that's the end. I think there you will get a lot of help. The main thing is to get the idea rolling.
So that I mean, just one word which you didn't use, Professor Jayanto, is that you ultimately make the prototype of it, and
Yes.
you're making a prototype. You're taking a feedback of it, and then you incorporate, and then final.
Absolutely.
That's how it becomes in reality.
Yes, yes, true.
Absolutely. So we are completely out of time. It's such a lively discussion. I mean, probably.
Professor Mohamita ma'am, I'll just give the answers to those two puzzles if people are trying to do. The answer to the last one is 1, 3, 9, and 27. 3 to the power 0, 3 to the power 1. I just see, it's not my credit. I know it. That's why I'm saying. But just the answer. So you sum 1, 3, 9, 27, will add up to 40. You can have any weight with these 4. That's the last answer. The first answer is much more lateral. You first horizontally cut it and make 2 cuts. So minimum 3 cuts will give you 8 pieces of cake instead of 4 cuts. So I just want to give the answer.
Correct.
So don't test your mind about it. This is the answer. Just fun.
So it was indeed fun, and these sessions, I think they need even more time. I think the experts that we had here could have told us even more, but we are really completely out of time. Actually, we have overshot it. So with your permission, all your permission, and thanking all of you for providing the students with a very, very practical, viable way of starting their work, getting their ideas to a place where it can really, really bring change. It can, from the smallest of things, change somebody's life for the better, change society's social thinking, social evolution a little better. I think even that is a big thing to happen. And particularly if it is in a sustainable mold, that is very, very essential. And we will have further sessions on this. So with everybody's permission, can we officially close the session today?
Yeah, just one last thing I would just like to mention. It just came cropped up in my mind, that the answer to the question, how do I bring it to reality, my idea. The Techno India University has given you such a big platform of ESD in every semester. Come up with your team and try to put life into it. That's what is the way you can try it out and go ahead. Yeah, Momita, you can close the session now.
Absolutely. So big thanks to all of you. And this discussion is going to be continued. This is just the beginning. So goodbye and good night for today. Thank you.
Thank you all.